So apparently the Fever just leaked their starting five. According to this graphic right here,
The Indiana Fever might have just shaken up the entire WNBA landscape after a starting lineup leak that's setting social media on fire. Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, and Aaliyah Boston. Yeah, that's the rumored starting five. We're talking about a unit featuring 2 Rookie of the Year winners and 3 players earning max contracts, all starting together. It's a super team in the making, but oddly enough, the bigger shock might be Sophie Cunningham's reaction to her new bench role, a response that might just reveal this team has finally discovered the formula for championship chemistry.
Sophie Cunningham, the first player off the bench to provide lineup versatility and shooting. Either way, there are a lot of options.
So, what does this powerhouse lineup really mean for the rest of the league? And how are they going to maintain cohesion with this much elite talent sharing the court? That's just the beginning of the discussion. Stick with us because we're breaking down not just the starting five, but all the different lineup combinations the Fever could roll out, and why every other team should be nervous. This isn't a team with just 5 solid options. They've got 9 players who could start, depending on who they're facing. And Sophie Cunningham? She's embracing the change with an energy that could be the secret sauce this roster needs.
And yeah, this is apparently what it's going to be. Caitlin Clark at the 1, Kelsey Mitchell at the 2, DeWanna Bonner at the 3, Natasha Howard at the 4, and Aaliyah Boston at the 5. Obviously.
Let's start where all good stories do, with Caitlin Clark. The rookie phenom is already redefining what's possible on a basketball court. Her vision is out of this world, and her range? Practically unlimited. Opponents are learning quickly. If Clark is in the building, you better guard her the moment she walks onto the hardwood.
Because in order for the Fever to achieve the goals that they have in front of them, everyone is going to need to buy into their role, and it's up to Stephanie White to put the best lineups out there, the best lineup combinations, and all of that. I took a stab at projecting what the starting five will be, and it's, not a huge leap, but obviously Caitlin Clark's going to be the point guard.
Right next to her is Kelsey Mitchell, a scoring machine in her own right. Averaging nearly 20 points per game last season, she's one of the most unguardable guards in the league, able to create her own shot from anywhere, even with defenders glued to her.
Kelsey Mitchell, the shooting guard, the most potent backcourt in the WNBA. I think DeWanna Bonner will be the Swiss Army knife kind of player at the 3.
Then we have DeWanna Bonner, bringing height, versatility, and big-time playoff experience. Standing 6 feet 4 inches, she's a mismatch nightmare who can stretch the floor and defend multiple positions. Add Natasha Howard to the mix, a tenacious defender who thrives on fast breaks and in pick-and-roll action. And anchoring the paint is 2023's Rookie of the Year Aaliyah Boston, whose refined footwork, raw strength, and high basketball IQ make her a dominant presence under the rim.
Natasha Howard fills that hole that they had at power forward, especially they were lacking somebody who could run the floor, catch, and finish. Aaliyah Boston is the center who doesn't hunt for shots, but can be a key cog on both ends.
This unit is like a perfectly synced orchestra. Every piece fits. The spacing they create is going to give coaches migraines. Focus your defense on Clark. Mitchell will torch you. Try collapsing on Boston inside. Clark, Bonner, Howard, and Mitchell can all knock down perimeter shots. The balance of scoring, spacing, defense, and experience is unmatched.
It was already tougher to load up on Kelsey Mitchell last year because Caitlin Clark was there. And when Kelsey's able to get out in transition, she's so fast. And when she's able to take you one-on-one, there ain't much you can do.
And don't overlook the potential between Clark and Boston. These two could evolve into one of the deadliest young duos in the WNBA. Boston's screens and perfectly timed cuts, paired with Clark's pinpoint passes? That's a highlight machine in the making. Their chemistry is still in its infancy, and it already looks like magic. Even head coach Stephanie White has said it. These two are building a legacy that could be all-time great.
When you think about the great point guards and post players that our game, not just our league, but our game has seen, they are going to go down in history as the greatest. And I'm excited about the opportunity to work with them. I'm excited about the opportunity that we have to build from those starting points and build out, and for the longevity that those two could have in Indiana, in Indianapolis, and hanging banners in this building.
Together, the projected starting five put up over 80 points per game last season, And with Clark now running the show, expect even higher efficiency. Teams like the Aces and Liberty better take notes. Las Vegas might get exposed in the paint with a smaller lineup, while New York's defensive system could get shredded trying to rotate between all these weapons. This isn't a rebuild anymore. Indiana's coming for wins, now.
So I saw Sophie Cunningham talk about how she is thrilled to join a supporting role next to Caitlin Clark and that she's playing on a stacked Fever squad.
And here's where things get even more interesting. Don't sleep on the bench, especially Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull. Cunningham's response to not being in the starting lineup? Straight up professional. No sulking, no drama, just support and determination. She's fired up to play her role next to Caitlin Clark and the crew, no matter where she starts the game.
I am really excited, and I didn't come here for the spotlight. I didn't come here to have more eyes. I came here to win. And I really do think that with the group that we have, that we are going to win. We are going to get a championship.
This type of veteran maturity is rare. We've seen plenty of big names resist a reduced role. Allen Iverson didn't want to come off the bench and ended up walking away from the game. Carmelo Anthony had similar issues in Houston. But Sophie? She's all in. And that kind of attitude could be exactly what turns this team into a serious contender.
When I just kind of heard what they were doing, and of course you have Caitlin, who's drawn eyes from all around the world. That was like, why would I not? Why not be a part of something great? You go from Diana, and now you're going to a team who is going to be a contender for a championship. And so I'm stoked about this year. I'm really excited for the players, but I'm also excited just for the community and the relationship and the culture that you guys have here.
Championship squads aren't just built with stars. They're built with players who know their role and embrace it. That's what Cunningham brings. Her selflessness is a sign of a changing culture in Indiana, one that's focused on collective success instead of personal stats. And that's exactly the kind of energy Stephanie White needs to mold this loaded roster into a championship-caliber team.
This Sophie Cunningham, who I mentioned before, who I do think will be the first player off the bench because of all of the things she can bring to the team, where they can go small with her and spread the floor. I mean, you can go real small. You could play Howard at center and Cunningham at the 4, something like that. Really space the floor out and give teams a different look. She can play a traditional spot on the wing, of course. And she has a little bit more, I think they're listed at the same height, but she has a little bit more length and size, I believe, than Lexi Hull. And that's, another shooter out on the floor.
Cunningham's skill set makes her an ideal 6th woman. She's versatile enough to defend guards and forwards, shoot from deep, and bring the kind of energy that shifts momentum. She could easily be starting on other teams, but instead, she's focused on making this team better in whatever way she can. That mindset? It's the foundation of greatness.
We're going to be a phenomenal group. I'm excited for all the other pieces that came in this offseason with me. And so when I really see what I can do here, I'm confident in that, but I really am just excited for the big picture of what everyone brings to this team.
Lexi Hull brings a serious punch off Indiana's bench. She's the definition of a relentless defender, applying pressure from baseline to baseline and never easing up. If you need someone to lock down an opposing team's primary scorer, Hull is the go-to option. If spacing is the priority, she's your solution there too.
And then there's Lexi Hull, who was relied upon a little bit too much a season ago. Lexi's a little undersized to guard some of the players that she had to guard and would get in foul trouble. And when she got in foul trouble, it was really debilitating for the team. Now I think she can bring that energy all the time and not have to worry about the foul trouble because of the lineup versatility that they have. For Lexi, the key is, can she continue to hit at the clip from 3 that she did the second half of last season? And she's got to get better at finishing around the cup. I mean, that's an area of improvement.
Quietly but effectively, she led the entire WNBA in 3-point shooting percentage last season. She might not be flashy, but whether it's sinking a crucial corner 3 or flying after a loose ball, Hull's impact is absolutely essential.
I think we've seen a lot of Brianna Turner working out with the team. I think her ability to set screens, hopefully catch and finish, could give her some minutes, because Aaliyah Boston really the only kind of what you would consider a center on the squad at this moment.
Right alongside her is Brianna Turner, the hidden gem in the Fever's interior defense. She's not the type to light up the scoreboard, but what she does doesn't show up in stat sheets. Turner sets bone-rattling screens, finishes strong through traffic, and creates wide-open lanes for players like Caitlin Clark to operate. With defenders chasing shooters out to the arc, Turner is the one exploiting the space they leave behind, consistently converting in the paint where it counts most. Together, Hull and Turner form a gritty defensive pairing that keeps the pressure up when the starters need a breather. Hull's non-stop hustle helps sustain a high pace, while Turner protects the rim and crashes the boards like her life depends on it. They're the kind of role players championship teams are built around, willing to do the hard work, always locked in, and determined to maintain momentum even when the stars are resting.
Coulson maybe plays a little bit more than we figured because Clark will get spelled a bit more often this season, I would imagine. I also could see some Clark Coulson two-guard lineups out there at times to let Clark play off the ball a little bit more, to let Coulson apply defensive pressure.
And don't overlook the calming influence of Sydney Coulson. As Caitlin Clark braces for the grind of her sophomore season, Coulson brings poise and steadiness that can't be overstated. Her presence allows Clark to rest without the team missing a beat. Coulson knows how to run an offense, manage the game clock, and keep everyone on the same page. She's the floor general who quietly keeps things flowing. The real edge for the Fever? Their bench doesn't just maintain intensity, it mirrors the starting lineup in style and execution. When the reserves check in, the system doesn't change, and the pressure doesn't ease. It's like facing a second wave just as dangerous as the first. That kind of relentless consistency is rare in the WNBA and often turns nail-biters into blowouts down the stretch.
You'll see Clark in motion more this year to free her up for cleaner looks. You know, Clark's three-point percentage was not probably where it needed to be. I think one way to get that up is to get her cleaner looks off the ball at times, though she should still have the ball the lion's share of the time. What they really did do is add those rim runners around her.
And speaking of strategy, let's talk about the master plan behind Caitlin Clark's role this season. Indiana isn't interested in your typical point guard setup. Forget the idea of Clark standing still at the top of the key, barking out orders. The Fever are going full Steph Curry mode, putting her in constant motion to scramble defenses from the inside out.
So I also want our players to use their instincts and to play free. You know, we want to make plays, not run plays, right? We want to have sets that give us certain spacing that we want depending upon our rotations, who's on the floor, who we want to attack, what matchups we want to get to, how can we manipulate them. So we'll have certain play calls that just give us space to operate, and then whichever play we make, whichever pass we make determines, you know, one of three actions that our players can read from. And so really giving them the freedom to play within a system.
Here's the vision. Clark dishes the ball and immediately takes off, cutting backdoor, running through multiple off-ball screens, and popping up in unexpected places with that dangerous shooting range. The result? Defenders chasing ghosts while Clark sets up for another 30-footer. It's a workout just trying to stay near her.
And then, of course, you know, when you have more weapons, a lot of people are worried. I don't think they have players who need the ball to score, but they have more players who can score, which is going to make it tougher to load up. It was already tougher to load up on Kelsey Mitchell last year because Caitlin Clark was there. And when Kelsey's able to get out in transition, she's so fast. And when she's able to take you one-on-one, there ain't much you can do. And then Clark, the same thing. What are you going to do now? You're going to have to pick your poison because you're going to send the whole defense at her again. Well, she's going to pick you apart. You know, they have 5 players who were in the top 30 in scoring last year.
It's more than clever, it's lethal. Most WNBA defenses aren't designed to handle a moving shooter like this. And with rim attackers like Natasha Howard and DeWanna Bonner, who time their cuts beautifully, defenders are forced into impossible choices. Focus on Clark and you get burned inside. Help on the cutters and Clark is left wide open.
You know, what the Fever really needed last year, they got killed on the boards at times. They got killed defensively at times. They lacked a little bit of toughness and oomph. And I think, you know, collectively, the new players fill that mold. I mean, they got players that have been around the block. You know, Sophie is tough and tenacious. You know that DeWanna Bonner has been in every situation imaginable, right? So all of that is huge. Same with Howard. that experience. That's something Sidney Colson talked about, who also has the experience. Everybody that's coming in is having the experience, and it's not often you see such a drastic overhaul.
Even better, when Clark is on the move, Bonner and Howard are slashing at just the right moment. If defenses try to switch or hedge, they're immediately punished. And don't forget Hull and Cunningham, both elite from 3, ready to punish any defensive rotation that gets lazy or late.
This year, I basically said there were 4 reliable players in Clark, Mitchell, Boston, and Hull. Everybody around that has been reconfigured, and the coach. And, the coach has familiarity with Bonner. She also has familiarity with how to guard Caitlin Clark.
This offensive scheme isn't just efficient, it's pure chaos for defenders. 5 scoring threats, all constantly rotating, cutting, and reading the defense in real time. Pick and rolls now have 3 layers. Handoffs can turn into backdoor lobs. The floor is spread so wide it feels like a chess game played at warp speed. Every part of this offense is built to confuse, stretch, and exploit.
And as much as the starting 5 is pretty much dead set right now, I could potentially see one of Sophie Cunningham or Lexi Hull maybe breaking into that starting lineup. I could see that happening at different stages during the year.
But as all this buzz builds, one move behind the scenes might be more telling than anything else. The surprising exit of Temi Fagbenle. Observers noticed her presence at off-season workouts and team photos, usually a strong sign of players in the team's long-term plans. Even more surprising, she started during the Fever's playoff push last year and played a major role in their defensive presence and rim-running game.
Do we not remember with Temi? Do we not remember they had a picture of Stephanie White with 6 players? And they were allowed to protect 6 players, and it was Temi as one of the 6? Do we not remember that? Turns out they protected Dantas instead of Temi.
And yet, when Indiana submitted its protected list for the expansion draft, Temi wasn't on it. They had 6 slots, plenty of room, but chose to shield Damiris Dantas instead. And that raised some eyebrows. No shade to Dantas, she's a quality player, but Fagbenle seemed like the natural fit next to Caitlin Clark. She runs the floor, defends the paint, finishes inside, and complements the Fever's transition game perfectly. So what gives? Here's one theory. Indiana's front office is playing a long game. The decision to prioritize Dantas could be about flexibility, unlocking different playstyles, creating trade options, or mixing up the skill sets on the second unit. Don't be surprised if this move signals another shakeup later in the season.
I do believe people give way too much credit to social media managers and accounts for the, behind the scenes knowledge that they might have about a team. So I wouldn't take that to the bank, because those were the players that were on the graphic. They could have just been randomly chosen.
And don't count out Sophie Cunningham. Though currently projected as a bench piece, her toughness, versatility, and playoff-level grit could easily thrust her into the starting 5 depending on the matchup. With Stephanie White able to shuffle lineups like a card deck, Indiana has an advantage few other teams can match.
But I genuinely think Coulson, Hull, Cunningham, Dantas, Bree Turner would actually win versus last year's starting 5. Because obviously Kelsey Mitchell was injured, Erica Wheeler's Erica Wheeler, Caitlin Clark just wasn't ready, and she was playing shooting guard a lot of that game, let's be real. Aaliyah Boston was not great coming into the season, and Alyssa Smith was arguably their best player. Like, that's the craziness of that. And like, the Fever are so freaking stacked as a team.
That's the real weapon here. Depth and flexibility. While most teams are locked into rigid rotations, the Fever can adjust on the fly, mix and match lineups, and keep the energy sky high for all 40 minutes. That could be the difference between making the playoffs and winning it all. Because this isn't just a rebuild, it's a full-on rebirth. With seasoned vets like Bonner, Howard, Coulson, Turner, and Cunningham anchoring a young core of Clark, Boston, Mitchell, and Hull, the Indiana Fever are done playing catch-up. They're here to win. And with Caitlin Clark leading the charge, you'd better believe they're aiming straight for the top. Are you excited for the upcoming season? Let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.